Okay, welcome to another Faro video tutorial. In this video tutorial we're going to see a bit more, see system browser a bit more in detail, and we're going to go inside its menus and see some of its true power. So as you can see here, I have already opened a system browser, and I'm going to go through very fast through pretty much all the options, at least most of the options that system browser gives to us. When I click on the category here, on the category pane, I'm given a list of options. The first one is find class. This is a quick way to find classes. I can type here my class that I want, for example, let's say dog, and you see immediately it finds the kind of tag class that I want to find, and all I have to do, I think also click browse and opens the class immediately. Another thing that we can do is find the packets. Again, the same thing that happens with the classes. You can type here the name, or part of the name, and it's going to find the package for you. Now, add tag. I think add tag it creates information about the packets, if I remember it correctly. Browse full is opening a browser. It opens a browser like what we see here. It's the standard browser we have seen so far. The opposite of full browse is the scope browse. Here, open it. Says that it doesn't work. Maybe it works for the classes. Browse scope. Yeah. So if I click on the class and right-click browse scope, it's going to only, click me and contain only the class and its packets for me to browse. So this is another way of doing it if you don't really want to have all this information inside your system browser. Another thing we can do here is rename. Again, rename is renaming the packets, remove is for removing the packets. I think that is for opening files, for opening an external repository and adding a new package here. Personally, I prefer to use Monticello for this kind of option. Add as group, it creates groups for us. For example, I can take this animal here and add it to a group and name it a group animal. You can see here. So it gives us all the classes. These groups are a quick way to group packages together. I can go back here. You can see animal is selected. You can go to groups and display only the groups. Let's see what else we can find here. Add in a group, add matching packages, add as a group. It's pretty much the same thing. But in this case it adds in an existing group. In this case only adds the group. It doesn't browse the group. It doesn't send you to the group to browse it. Add matching packages as group and browse it. Again, find the packages that match with this. Usually, if you can actually see here the system browser, what it does here is it can one package can contain another package. What it really does is that generally the names here are AST core, you see this minus here, minus matching. So the full name of this package is actually AST core minus matching, AST core minus nodes, AST minus core minus pattern, etc. etc. And what it does, it doesn't display the full name of the package because it knows that when you use this kind of naming, it understands that they are associated together, and so what it does is actually make them appear as one is contained inside another. So we have here one inside the other. You can use the same thing. You can use a name with a minus to create packages contained inside other packages. But of course you can use also groups if you want. Let's see what else. The critic browser, I think critic browser browsers, yeah. Critic browsers is probably deserves a separate tutorial for itself. It's a way to evaluate code, but evaluate code in terms of if it follows the coding, the good coding practices. There are different kind of rules here that Faro checks for. For example, for bugs, the debugging code using methods, message sent but not implemented. Now, for example, this is exactly an evaluation that it's going to do. It's going to check your classes and try to find out if messages sent. It's a message sent but is not implemented already. So it won't wait until it's going to trigger a message not understood. Instead, it's going to find the error before, because what this application here, what is the Critic browser is doing, is checking for errors, it's checking for bugs, it's checking for bad designs inside code, and tries to alert you before you run the code what is the kind of problems that the code is going to have, and so you can correct those problems, and you don't really have to go through the tedious process of checking every part of your application. You can use this tool to quickly check for bugs and problems inside your code. But this tool deserves a separate video tutorial, so I'm not going to go in detail with it. Let's see what we can do. I think we have finished with categories. Now remember categories, the difference between, because I have used the term packages in some cases categories, some will say what is the difference? The correct term is categories. The things you see here are actually categories. The reason why I'm naming packages is because those things are also packages. Now, the difference between the packages and categories is that the category is something that exists in the system browser, but the package has the ability also to be saved online. It is something that the Monticello tool is using to save code online. It works exactly, at least in theory, it works, at least in a user perspective, it works the same way, but the difference is that here in Monticello, we're going to describe Monticello in a different video tutorial, but I'm actually demonstrating here. Those are packages, because those things are saved into repositories that are online, or repositories as you can see here, an online repository that we see here, which is actually the Faro 3 repository in Smalltalk Hub. But we're going to talk about Monticello in another tutorial, but I want to actually clear any misunderstanding we have here. These are categories, but they are also packages because they are saved online. So let's see about classes now. Classes, we have refactoring. Now, code rewriting, you will see this kind of tools here. Those kind of tools are actually pretty advanced. I have to say that I don't really understand what they're doing. I think that they're using the parser of the Faro language to do some very neat ways of parsing code. So we are not going to deal with them. I'm not going to actually try to explain them how they're working. But there are actually other options we can use here. For example, rename the class. I think that's pretty straightforward. Remove generate accessor. Now, generate accessor, what it does is, if you have defined an instance variable as we have here, and you haven't actually defined a message that can get the value and return the value of this instance variable. If you remember from earlier tutorials, we said that this is a setter and a getter, so we call these two methods, we call them accessors because they give us access. The one is returning us the value of the instance variable, and the other one is one that the method that allows us to assign a value to the instance variable. So these are called accessors. So what it does here, generate accessors, is actually generates the message, the getter message, and the setter message. Another thing is that it can generate a superclass, or it can generate a subclass. So what it does is going to take the class as it is, and for example, let's say we want to create a subclass. You don't really need to go inside and type all this kind of stuff. If you I want to create a subclass, for example, go refactoring, class refactoring, so generate a subclass, and immediately it's going to ask me the name of the subclass I want. I'm going to enter the name, and it's going to create here a subclass of this class. Now, this is a small bug that we see here. doesn't really cancel very well. What else we have? Class variable refactoring. So we have here about the class variables. The class variables that we define, we define here class variables. So we can refactor those as well. So if we can rename the class. Here we can add a new class variable. We can rename, we can remove it. I don't know what this does. This is accessors. Again, the accessors is going to show us what kind of getter and setter methods there are about this variable. Pull out and pull down. What it does actually is taking the variable and it pulls up. What pulls up means is actually send it to the superclass. So it removes it from the subclass and sends it back to the superclass. So in this case, for example, if we had a variable here, it's going to remove it from here and set it in a superclass, which is this class clears. So we can see here that this is a subclass of rp pass tree rule, and it's going to send the variable to the superclass of this class here. If we push it up, push it down is the opposite. Of course, we can send the instant variable. So it removes from here and it's actually it creates it creates here a new instant variable that is the instant variable here. So if you have a variable, let's say here, that's called tree, like for example owner, we can remove this variable from owner here and we can add it here to this subclass using the push down. Let's see what else we can do. Yeah, push up, push down, again, pull up, push down, again. We can undo, of course. Here we have created the name of it, so you can do this. Rename instance variables, we rename a class variable, we analyze. This is actually very nice. Instance variables references. So we have an instance variable here which is called search tree. Now, search tree must be inherited from here. You see? So we have here a search tree. You cannot see here because it's not defined in subclass, it's defined in superclass, but it's inherited. If you have to remember the inheritance video tutorial, we have explained how inheritance works. So when we subclass something, we take its variables as well. So the subclass is going to have the same example variable search tree, which is actually here. So what it says here is that we have searched with analyze instance variable reference, which means which methods actually access the instance variable. And we have seen here that we already find a method, the method search string, which is part of the class rb parser tree rule. We can find again search tree. We see here it also selects this for us to easier find the variable. We see that it's accessed also here in this method perform on. So this is actually a very nice way. If you see an instant variable and you don't really understand what is the use and which method is actually using this instant variable, you can actually find those methods that use it without actually having to browse each method separately to actually search about this instant variable. You can use this option to find the instance variable references and find the methods that use this instant variable and understand really what this instant variable really does and why it's useful for the class, which is very helpful. Another thing we can do, let's see what else we can do. Instant variable assignments. Yeah, of course, assignments, where the instant variable is assigned. Again, the same thing. Instant variable. So the difference between a reference and an assignment is that in an assignment you assign and value to the instant variable, when a reference is just something that it uses the instant variable. Either it assigns it or it actually takes its value to do something else. So here we see only the assignments. Not where it's accessed, but only the assignments. So another thing we can do, we can create an initializer with instant variables, generate an initialize method, for the generation of initialize method. Now the difference between generation and initialize method, which actually creates the initialize method we have seen here, which is a very important method, the one that actually initialize the instance variables for and triggers messages on the creation of an instance. The difference between those two is that generate method is going to create the initialize method, but this one, even if you have already have an available initialize method, is what it's going to do is going to empty this initialize method and start it from scratch like you have created for the first time. And we have class variable reference, which is pretty much the same thing with instance variable references, but it's for classes, for class variables. Let's see, unset methods. Those methods are actually, this is very useful because you can see methods that are unset. Methods here says that there are no unset methods. So because this is actually a class that is we actually version here, which is very useful. Unset methods means that the method has never sent, so nobody actually has called this method. Nobody has sent the message that corresponds to this method. So pretty much the method is useless. So methods that we see that are not used, this is a very nice way to find which methods are not used, and we can delete them. And reference class variables and reference class variables, again, the same thing with some methods. We're talking about these variables here that are not really used, so we can remove those as well. Let's see what else we can do. Find method. Okay, find method works similarly to find class. Find class, we have seen it. Jump to test class. Now, this is useful for test-driven development. Test methods, actually, it's what the name is saying. It's methods that test something. We use a test because they're automatic. They allows us to run tests, thousands, even hundreds, even thousands of tests automatically without having to test our application ourselves. And that's something that you create, of course, by yourself, or you can use the system browser to generate tests for you. In this case, what it does, it actually sends you to the test class if there is a test class for this. In this case, we see there is a test class, which is RB replace rules test. So the corresponding test class for the class we were browsing, which is here, it is the one that they have sent us. So what else we have? We had add class, add full class. Now add class, I think it gives you the definition here that we have used. Add full class, again the same thing. Add trait. Now traits something that we probably we're going to do in a different tutorial. Traits are like methods that you can add to existing classes. So instead of creating a method inside the class, you create a method outside the class, and you assign this method to a class, or you can assign it also to multiple classes. This is a very flexible way to extend existing classes. Actually, trait methods are used to extend existing classes. Now, pros full and pros code, we have used it, and in a group we can use that in a group. Move to packets. You can move a class to a different package if you want to. You can copy a class. Usually what it does here is takes the class as it is, the definition and the methods, and copies those in a different name, different class name. Of course, you cannot not have the same class name. Faro allows for a single class name per class, so you don't use the same name. File out. File out is actually if you want to save your code to a file, you can issue a file out, and if you go to the directory, you will find an SD file, but we don't really use file out so much. File outs are actually a way to share code online of Smalltalk. You want to share your code online, but there are better ways to do this, and we generally use Monticello for sharing code online, which is we're going to see in a different video tutorial. So let's see. I think we have finished with classes. Again, protocols, add protocols, pros, fulls, categorization. Now, categorization and categorize means that if you have methods that are not categorized, it will try to categorize them automatically. It depends from the name. Sometimes it uses the name of the method to find the right category for it. But generally, you will want to categorize your methods by yourself and add them to the right protocol. This is a protocol. And rename here. this is a category and this is a protocol. So rename, remove empty protocols. Of course, you can understand what it is. And now let's see refactoring for methods. You can add a parameter, you can align a parameter, you can move to the class side. This is actually very useful if you want to make it an instant value definition. Push up, push down. Again, we have seen that it's very similar. You can remove a parameter from your method. You can rename your method as well. You can find a method. You can add this is experimental. Probably this is going to be buggy a bit. Generate test and stuff. Now this is exactly the one thing that we said here that we can use Faro to generate tests for us. And jump means that you're going to send you to the test as well. But as I say, test-driven development is a big subject. We're going to talk about test-driven development in a different tutorial. Senders off, again, actually these methods these options here are very important. Let's say you want to find which one is actually using this method. So if you go to senders off, what you see here is every single method that actually triggers this method. You see, send messages. So anyone who actually send messages, you see here, anyone who send this message is going to be found here. And where I was, no. Send implementers off. Implementers off is going to show you which class implements this message. Now, it's not very useful to use it in this case because we already are in the class that implements this message. It's not really good. But of course, you can find, other classes that are doing that. For example, here I show you that there's a program node also that implements the send messages. There's also a message node that also implements this method. But you can do this also inside your code. For example, you can go here, you can go extend search, and you go senders off, browse it. You can browse it, of course. Implementers, reference to it, selectors contain it. Again, you can see that you get similar options here to find, for example, implementers, to find here. And of course, see here, you actually select the message, you click senders, and it sets you the send. So here it shows you the implementers, which classes actually implement this message, and then you can click quickly here and find you the implementers of this message. Or you can find another message. Let's see if you can find another message, for example. Search children, for example, and find implementers for children, and you see immediately it finds implementers of. No, it actually finds implementers for this message. So if I go here and go external search, implementers of children, you see immediately I'm finding children. So this is pretty much it. I think that it's very important the one thing that I want to emphasize here is that this menu here is very important. You can browse it. Browse it actually opens a new browser. I think already it is browsed, so it has an opening in browser. Yeah, and you can find implementers, references to it. So see here the implementer who implements this message. So this extended search is something you can use in the system browser. You can actually use this in the workspace and anywhere that I think probably any other tool that using some kind of creating code and editing code. It also has this sub menu, which is extended search, which is very useful to find implementer senders and browse existing. For example, I'll go here and go to workspace and say that I write transcript. I can go here and go to extended search and go to browse it, and it's going to give me the class, for example, a class that has the kind of class, or maybe even better, let's say dog, which is the class I have defined, and go here and search, browse it, and immediately you see I see the dog class. So this is actually very useful because you know, system browser is very flexible. And of course, another thing you can do, I think you can do it, yes, you can send messages. For example, here, if I do Duke browser, it does exactly the same thing. It triggers the browser. And you can do pretty much, you know, some very nice refactoring. And everything you see here is, of course, a message, because everything in Faro is messages and objects. So I think that I have shown you, this one was a bit lengthy tutorial, but I think that I have shown you how the system browser works in a deeper level, and hopefully you can use those things that I've shown you to make your life easier while coding. And the most important thing I want to for you to keep out of this is how easy to find senders, implementers, and you know, even versions. Versions also very important, because Faro inside has something called the version control system, which means that every time someone's changing the code, it shows us who has changed the code as well. So I think that if I go to, let's say, I want to find class dog. Let's see, close. Let's go to H and go version. So it must have one version. You can see here. Oh no, it's actually two versions. The first version, I always do the assignment. The second, I define also. Yeah, probably was an empty method when I defined it, and then I add it, as you can see here. So you actually can see. And it actually tells you who made the comment. In this case, this is my nickname that I use. Then the time that it was making, this must be the day, because it's usually American convention. So it's the 4th of May of 2014, and this is 26th of April. So this is the latest, and this is the end. It even gives me the time, so I can see how the code changed. And I can compare it to the current one. No, it's exact match. I compare this to current. You can see here the difference between the two. So this is some really nice tools that we can do here, and version is a very nice way if you want to, for example, go back to the previous version of your method. If I want to revert back, I'm going to click revert here. No, this is, yeah. I'm going to click revert here, and it's going to send me back to the previous version of the message. This is also a very powerful feature if you want to, correct mistakes you have made, or you change your mind with a message, and you want to go back to the way it was before. So I think that is all for System Browser. Thank you for sticking around for the full tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find it useful. And as always, see you on the next tutorial.